Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my review and prediction of the second and final week of the semifinals of America's Got Talent Season 6. Sorry if I look messy, I just came back from the gym. Okay, let's get started. Remember, this is the final week of the semifinals. Next week they get into the top 10, and then I think from there they're going to go into the official finals, which will be the top 4 acts, and then they pick a winner from there. Tonight, 12 acts competed, and tomorrow night, 5 of them will move on to the top 10. 5 acts were already taken last week, and I'm pretty sure I got all of them right. I predicted they would all move on except for, and this was a good one, West Springfield Dance Team made it over Daniel Joseph Baker, which I was very happy about. Go West Springfield. So let's start. The first act to go up was the Kinetic King. Now, he's the one that makes contraptions, and because they're so elaborate, every week he goes on, he has to go first because it takes him 2-3 days total to make these contraptions. And it takes a lot to clean up and to set up, and he can't move them, so he always has to go first. So he went first again. The thing with this contraption was, it was good. It was like his usual stuff, you know. I couldn't really sit through an hour of that, but it'd be like a fun opening act or whatever. The bad part about this one is that it went by like that. It literally lasted, I think, like 15 seconds. If you watch it, I'm not exaggerating, the whole contraption lasted 10 to 15 seconds. So it was faster, it was cooler in that sense, but then it just goes to show again, he can't sustain a show in Vegas. Now, I don't know if he'll move on because last time I thought he wouldn't, and I underestimated how popular he really was in America, so we'll see. The second act to go up was Fatally Unique. They're the urban dance troupe. They did this like Friday the 13th themed dance. They were all in Jason masks, and they did it to Out of Your Mind. It was good. It was precise as usual. They're another really good dance act. Not as good, in my opinion, as West Springfield. It seemed like this week they kind of copied West Springfield. It was weird because I didn't think they were like horror-themed dancing, but this week they were. So I was like, West Springfield? But anyways, it was good anyways, and I think they have a good chance of moving on because this semifinals, in my opinion, was in no way comparable to last week's semifinals. Last week's was outstanding and stiff competition. This week, I don't know. But I think they have a good chance of moving on. The third act to go up was Landon Swank. He's the magician from Alaska. This week he did this trick where there were 4 boxes suspended and the judges pressed 3 buttons which caused 3 of the boxes to explode, and then he jumped out of the 4th one, and then he showed that the last button made the 4th one explode. It wasn't really, it was more like a suspense trick, not really a magic trick. You know, it's one of those acts like, I'm gonna guess which one won't explode. It was kind of slow. It was cool the way he set up. The whole setup was really cool. But, I don't know, it was just a little slow for me. He got really good reviews from the judges, so I think he has a chance of moving on. The next act to go up was Gymkhana. They're the YouTube act that's the acrobatics group. I liked them in their first tryout, and this one, I don't know, they did like acrobats and it was synchronized again, but then they did this jump through a hoop of fire, and then someone hit the ring of fire, so they had to stop the act in the middle of the act because he fell over and was lying on the ground and the ring of fire fell over. So they cut the act short, and they got an X from peers, and I don't think they're gonna move on just because they're forgettable, they messed up, so they won't move on. The next act to go up was the Summer Wind Skippers. They're the jump roping act from Idaho. They did their routine to a Britney Spears song. I forgot what it's called. One of her recent ones, but they messed up a lot. They mess up like once or twice usually, but this time I feel like they messed up like 3 or 4 times. And that got them an X from Piers because he cannot stand for many mess ups. And it just didn't really step up from last performance. It wasn't like, wow, they did something completely different. It was just, okay, more of this. I couldn't really stand much more of it because it gets boring after like 5 seconds. But I don't think they'll move on. Next act to go up was Snap Boogie. He's the street dancer, individual dancer, popper. He's like does street side show performances. This week he did a performance to, in the beginning it was Viva La Vida by Coldplay, and then it got into like an up-tempo disco song halfway through the performance. It just was weird. Like last performance, it was really cool, and there were like black suited, like full unitard suit people following him, like imitating his moves. And this week, it was just like these girls were like statues, and it was kind of cheesy and sappy and just weird. And I don't think he'll move on because he didn't step it up, and you can't really take that far in the competition. Individual dancers usually can't win, so. The next act to go up was Anna Graceman. She's the 11-year-old singer from Alaska. She did Home Sweet Home. I don't know who sings it, but she got a standing ovation from the judges. In my opinion, she was the best act of the night. And I don't know why she wasn't put later in the show, like where they usually put the better acts near the end. I don't know why, because I thought she was really, really good. And I think she's definitely going to move on. She was the only act, I think, that got a full standing ovation from the judges, except for maybe one other act that I'll get to in a second. And I think she's going to move on. She has an outstanding voice for an 11-year-old. The next act to go up was Steven Retchless. He's the male pole dancer. He did his routine to Animal by Kesha, like a master mix of Animal by Kesha. And it was really good. He added dancers this time and a different set design. And he stepped it up from his last time. He got an X from Piers as usual. Piers always X's him, and I don't know why, because he's a really good performer and a good dancer. I don't know if it'll move on because you can't really take pole dancing much farther. Realistically, I mean, it's a possibility, but individual pole dancing, I don't think you can really take to a headline of a Vegas show. We'll see. The next act to go up was the Smaggy Brothers Riding Show. They're the motorcycle stunt duo of brothers, and this performance, they did like a farm routine to like Country Roads Take Me Home, like this rock mix of that song. And then they had like a farmhouse which they jumped on, and like a ramp they did some tricks on, and then they brought out their whole family, including their cute old little grandmother, and they jumped over like the line of family lying down on the ground, and it was really cool. They're the other act that got a standing ovation from the judges. Like the bike thing is not really my thing, but I know like a lot of America eats it up, and I think it'll move on because they did do really well this performance. They changed their routine, they stepped it up, and I think they'll move on to the finals. The next act to go up was Professor Splash. He's the guy that jumps into 12 inches of water. This time he did something a little different. He jumped from double the height, I think 70 feet, but it was into an 8-foot small little pool, but he lit the surface on fire. Now, it was, well, and he did jump standing up like a pencil dive, and he is 6 feet tall, so he could easily reach the bottom and like break his feet. But I don't think it really compared to his other performances, because that one, it's like, oh my gosh, he's jumping into nothing. He's like jumping into no water pretty much. And this one, I mean, the fire didn't really even come into play because it was just on the surface. It was just not as suspenseful, not as exciting, and I don't think he'll move on because you can't take much more of a person jumping into a pool. So, the second to last act to go up was Landau Eugene Murphy Jr., one of my favorite singers in the competition. Even though I don't want a singer to win, he's probably my favorite singer. He's the Frank Sinatra sounding singer. It's eerie. He sounds just like Frank Sinatra. And he sang I've Got the World on a String by Frank Sinatra. And his voice sounded really good. There were a few iffy notes, But I don't agree with Piers when he said this performance, you were nervous. It was not good at all compared to your other ones. I didn't agree with that. I think he still did really, really well. Maybe not as good as his last performance, because his last one was really good. But I don't agree with Piers when he said it wasn't good. And I think he still has a good chance of moving on because he is so popular with America. And he's like the epitome of America's Got Talent, the judges always say. He kind of like... I thought before I watched the show, I thought he's for sure moving on. And now it's like an iffy, but I'm still pretty sure he has a really good chance of moving on. And the final act to go up was the Silhouettes. Now, this was one I was not that happy with. They were one of my favorite crews when I saw the lineup for this week. They were probably the favorite and the act I was most excited to see. And then when they went, I was just confused. They did this routine. It was like last week, if you remember, they did the patriotic routine where they created monuments with their shadows. And this week they did like this world routine where they made like a globe and they did clouds. They did a new thing where they were under a sheet and formed things with a sheet. It was just strange. I didn't think it was what the Silhouettes were about. I don't know. I mean, the words they formed were so, like, they moved by so fast and the camera was far away, I couldn't even read them. And I didn't understand the performance. It didn't tell the story that the others did. So I was really disappointed in this one, honestly. And I could sense the judges were confused too, because at the end of the performance, they were just like, what? Is it over? And they weren't even clapping, and then they saw everyone clapping, and they're just like... And then, I mean, they gave them good reviews just because they're the Silhouettes, and, like, obviously they're, like, one of the favorites to win the competition besides maybe, like, Team Illuminate. But this one was just strange. I mean, I still think they'll move on because they are such favorites with America, but it was just weird. It didn't jive with me, so... Okay, so 12 acts performed, only 5 are going to move on tomorrow night. I'm going to choose the 6 acts which I think have the best chance of moving on. Then from there, I'll eliminate 1, and that'll be 5 acts. If you've been watching these videos, you'd know the routine by now. Alright, so the acts I think are going to be in the top 6. I'm going to go with Anna Graceman, the young singer. Fatally Unique, the dance crew. I'm also going to go with Landau Eugene Murphy Jr., the Frank Sinatra singer. And then I don't know for sure about this one, but I'm going to go with the Silhouettes, as that's my top 4. And then 5th and 6th, I'm going to go with Landon Swank, and then the Smashie Brothers Riding Show again. Possibly the Kinetic King, possibly. I really didn't think he was going to make it last time, but he did. So, I don't know. We'll see, but I'm not going to put him in my top. Maybe switch the Smashie Brothers with Silhouettes, and Silhouettes will come in 5th place. But then I think that the 5 acts, out of those 6 to the top 5, I'm going to cut out Landon Swank, and the 5 acts that will move on: Anna Graceman, Fatally Unique, Landau Eugene Murphy, Silhouettes, Smashie Brothers. So that's my prediction. Last week I was pretty close, except I flip-flopped one, so we'll see. Remember, next week the top 10 perform, and then after that there's only 1 week of performances and results left, and then America's Got Talent is over. So America's Got Talent will be coming on tomorrow night at 9 p.m. on NBC Pacific Standard Time, and it comes on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. as well. Remember to watch tomorrow to see who moves on, and then I'll be back with you next week to discuss the top 10. Rate the video thumbs up, please. Subscribe, tell your friends. I would like reviews, comments, maybe not, but it'd be nice, kind of. Okay, see you next week. Bye.